every day. We went 1:30 today of because of the need for preparation. Each time we hold a press conference, we'll be informing people of what's going on the best we can. We're not going to be able to touch on everything, but we're going to inform it the best we can of the main events and the things that are happening. I do have an agenda that I've jotted down, but again, I want you to understand that I'm not a professional. I'm an American, and it's as difficult for me to be here and risk my livelihood as it is for everybody else. Which brings me to my first point. I want to recognize the tremendous support that the community has given us and the strength that it has given me and my family to know that you love us and that you support us. Thank you very much. First on the list here is I want to talk about, okay, you can hear that better? Okay. First on the list, I want to talk about our First Amendment rights. We have the right to be here. And the BLM obviously does not respect the Constitution of the United States. Otherwise, they would have not made this little box for us and expect us to stay in it. Okay? And it's disgusting of how they must think of the Constitution. Okay? We have the right to express. We have the right to let people know and let our politicians and let all the people in the whole world how we feel. That is our right under the Constitution of the United States. And we will not let that be taken from us. That's right! Okay? Yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I want to thank Governor Sandoval for his words, and they did take those First Amendment boxes down. And so thank you, Governor Sandoval. Yeah. All right, second, I would like to talk about some things that happened over the last couple days and get a few things cleared up so that everybody understands what have happened. First of all, they came in and occupied this land. They used this area right here as the first place to gather the cattle. And they literally locked this land up. They put signs on every road. And if you need proof of that, I can give you that. I think the people know that that's the case. And they literally locked up every road. They had agents on every road. And where there was a large space in between the agents, they put cameras. Okay? This is on American soil they did this, okay? We need to realize the implications of this, that they locked down our land. They locked down this wonderful land. The first thing that happened a couple days, it was on Sunday, Dave Bundy was on the side of the road and he was filming them gathering the cattle. And there was 5 or 6 units that came down and around 20 agents, and they attacked him and knocked him to the ground, rubbed his face in the ground, handcuffed him, and beat him up pretty bad. During that confrontation, they took, or at least they impounded his car, and they took his iPad, and they took his radios. He's a pilot, and a few other electronics. Okay, yeah, so my call to action is this, okay? Well, let me tell you a little bit of story. We had Dan Love, the head of the BLM, right here at this, whatever it is, this compound over here. He called, and he says, we want to return your items after quite a bit of pressure. So we arranged a meeting over here and met with him to get those items back. Well, they wanted us to sign for these items like they took them legally, and now we're taking them. Now we're getting them back as signed-in evidence. Okay, that's how they're looking at this. That they have every right to be here. However, in that pile of electronics that had taken was not the iPad. And they said that they are keeping it for evidence. Okay? Yeah, they're keeping it so the people can't have evidence, because that is the evidence of how they attacked him. And that is the evidence of what they were doing there. Okay? So my call to you, to the people of this country, is to demand that we get that evidence back. Demand it. Okay? Thank you. Okay? We need that back. It's private property, and we want to know what's on it. Third, I'm going to turn the time over to a wonderful man. At least I think he's a wonderful man. I don't know him very good, but Harry Pappas, and he's going to talk to us about some turtle issues. So Harry, here you are.
Okay, what I want to do is, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Jacqueline Bush here first,
Okay.
and another person before me.
I'm Jacqueline Bush. I was Jacqueline Little Dyke, born up in Ely and raised in a cattle family. The reason I'm here today is because a cousin of mine took over his father-in-law's cattle ranch in Lund, and he was harassed unmercifully. My entire life I have heard of the injustices done to him, and as a family we would often pray that he wouldn't even kill a BLM, and he was so upset emotionally. He became ill and could not fight this illness because his immune system was so compromised because of the stress he was under with BLM. So I'm here today representing Carl Wilfong, who did the very best he could to provide for his family, but the BLM ruined him and us.
And now we've got one more speaker before me, and it's Bob Raskin.
Greetings. My name is Rob Raskin. I'm a businessman in Las Vegas, and I'm associated with the Oath Keepers. For those who don't know it, the Oath Keepers are people that have taken an oath to defend the Constitution. It's clear that our government's abandoned it, shredded it, stepped on it, and destroyed it. And that's why I'm out here. The government, the United States government, is obviously behind what's happening here, but the bigger message is that none of our local people who are supposed to be looking out for us are looking out for us. When snipers train their weapons on innocent, unarmed people, where is the governor? Where is Governor Sandoval? Where is Harry Reid? Where is Heck? Where is Heller? Where are any of them? Why aren't they here? Do they actually think that one small blurb is going to change the situation or appease us in any way? The Oath Keeper's job is to protect. Anybody who's an Oath Keeper knows what I'm talking about. If you're not an Oath Keeper and you're interested, please see me. The only way that we are going to ultimately defend ourselves is if we step up and do it ourselves. Because the message we've received here yesterday and today is that nobody's coming to help us. It's up to us. Thank you.
You ready, Harry?
My name is Harry Pappas. I've been involved in these issues, these land rights issues, the environmental issues, for maybe 30 years now. I'm a unique witness. I was in a unique position about 20 years ago. I sat on the Southern Nevada BLM Advisory Council. I was a political appointee by then Congresswoman Barbara Vukanovich. I sat on this advisory council for the BLM approximately 1 year. In that time, most of it was pretty much of a political fluff position. However, one meeting we had stuck in my mind. I think it was about 6 months in. The gentleman from the California Department of Wildlife came in and gave us a seminar. When they came in, they had 2 barrels of desert tortoises, like this. I'm talking about 55-gallon barrels full of these juvenile tortoises. Now, they gave us a talk about this. And you see the hole in the back of this thing? All of them had this same hole. California had instigated a raven study, and they were going to study the habitats of the raven. When they started this study, they started finding piles of these juvenile tortoises at raven sites. They changed the emphasis of their study to predation on tortoises. What they discovered was the ravens were taking almost all the juvenile tortoises and killing them. I got this one off, and they didn't want to give me this after the meeting. About 2 years later, they started the endangered tortoise species that was going to impact southern Nevada. And I sat on that tortoise committee. That committee was, I don't know, I think about 100 people. BLM, Forest Service, Park Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Nevada Department of Wildlife. Every city in southern Nevada had a representative on there. And then there was Sierra Club, Wilderness Society, Audubon Society, the environmental groups. There was, I think, one person from the four-wheel drive club. There was one person from a hunting representative. There was one rancher. In other words, it was about 95% government bureaucrats and environmentalists on there. And this is when the tortoise, they were going to list the tortoise as endangered. They got that on, and as the year went by, they put their plan in place. They started collecting tortoises now. The tortoise was listed as an endangered species, and they started collecting tortoises. Now, they started collecting so many, and I always go, by the way, this meeting was, I think, held monthly, and I was involved in that until I finally had a belly full of it and left. They were collecting tortoises out of the, part of the plan was they were going to collect the tortoises out of the Vegas Valley at a mitigation fee. The developers were going to pay, I think, $50 an acre or $500 an acre, something along that line. I can't remember the details exactly now. They started doing that. Millions started rolling in to the government agencies, the environmental groups. And then one day we had a meeting, and they came to the meeting and they said, we're going to euthanize the tortoises. I said, what in the hell? I sat there in disbelief. What are you talking about? According to these guys, the environmental community and the government, there wasn't any tortoises. They should be as rare as dodo birds. Yet they were saying, and they created the tortoise compound in the end of Rainbow down there in Vegas. They said the compound was so full of tortoises, they're going to start euthanizing them. Yeah. Now, somebody got up, and I can't remember what it is, and said, hey, hold it. What are you talking about? First thing, there wasn't even supposed to be any tortoises. They were endangered. They were rare as a dinosaur. Where'd you get all these tortoises? Now, you got to also understand one thing. These tortoises, these thousands and thousands of tortoises were coming out of the Vegas Valley. Vegas Valley is the most heavily impacted valley and land in the state of Nevada in any desert tortoise habitat. Since 1902, that valley was settled. Been nothing but construction, home building, road building, off-roading, shooting, hunting, you name it, it's been impacted there. So where do these tortoises come from? Nevertheless, a person got up and said, somebody said, well, how can you find these tortoises when it's supposed to be, there isn't supposed to be any? Second person got up and said, well, why don't you release them back into the wild? And you know what they said then? They said, we can't. The wild is at carrying capacity with tortoises. Carrying capacity. You all know what I mean by carrying capacity. And that was the fraud. At that point, that's about when I left, because like I said, there was only about 5% of us that were on there, and the rest were all government bureaucrats and federal bureaucrats, environmentalists, and city bureaucrats. So, anyway, it was all a fraud, the list of tortoise. The evidence is there. It's in the minutes. I was there as an eyewitness. I heard it all. They listed the tortoise so they could remove everybody off these lands, especially the ranchers, because they're claiming like they're doing right now with Cliven Bundy. They're claiming Cliven Bundy is destroying these tortoises. That's a lie. And here's the proof in what I've just given testimony is saying. That was all a lie. Yet you're using it now to get rid of Cliven, because after they get rid of Cliven, what they've always done, they'll shut down the majority of the roads. They start getting rid of predator control. And by the way, that's what's killing these. This is the predator, avian predators, airborne. And that doesn't include the ones on the ground yet, the coyotes and everything else. They shut it down. They're going to turn it into a recreation place. They're going to, one road in, one road out. They're going to tell you where you can camp, when you can do this, when you can do that. You're going to be harassed by AR M16 packing BLM Rangers. Right now, we've got freedom and liberty to go out there and hunt, camp, explore, We're not going to have that when they close this area up. And the only reason they want Cliven off, and they're using this Tortoise as the alibi, is to get rid of the ranchers so they can get rid of everybody else and control it. Control how we're going to go in there and out. And that's what I wanted to, especially I wanted everybody to see. I've got it here, and they've got it. They've got 55-gallon barrels of these things.
Sir, would you expound on the Antiquities Act of 1903? Don't they use that as their ammunition?
I don't know about that Antiquity Act. I can't comment on it.
That's what they used to lock up the Caparowitz Plateau with the coal. Flint flew out here, and they did that, and that was in Utah. And there's tons and tons and tons of coal up there that we can't use ourselves.
You know what? We appreciate that, and if you would get us some more information on that, we would like to talk about that. That's what we'll do at these press conferences. We're going to expose the frauds that are going on. That's one of the points of this.
This act
So.
to students that go through college that are going to become BLM
Absolutely.
people, and Forest Service and U.S. Fish and Wildlife people.
Thank you.
It's taught, and they still believe it. It's time that law is taken off the books.
Well, let's talk, but right now I got an agenda, okay?
Okay, good for it.
All right. Okay, so I wanted to give you an update on what's happening on this land. And they have primarily